Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, December 9th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are our Two of Cups in its upright in combination with our Page of Cups in its upright. So, one of the things that we're seeing, right? We've been talking a lot about this, working through that aspect of perspective, working through a lot of that contemplation as it relates to recognizing and feeling that sense of harmony. And it doesn't require, like I see even now, like a lot of this work or space that we're articulating, identifying in relationality to nuance. I want to say it's frustrating and it's also empowering. Why am I saying that it is frustrating and empowering? Because when you are able to navigate through one's own sense of frustration, you feel that sense of empowerment, right? It requires you to have to go through that journey. It requires you to have to go through that work. And so even now, that ability, like that's so much of that density that we experienced and articulated in our last reading. It's requiring, like, and I need to point this out, like it's a lot of that feeling of like working through energetic hurdles right now. And what's difficult about it, and I have to stress this because it does depend kind of where your Aries placements are. Some of that Aries in its retrograde may be bringing up some kind of feeling of energetic exhaustion right now. Like it just may have that moment. But again, what happens when we're navigating those spaces or places where we're feeling frustrated, but we're on a pathwork of purpose? You know, much like, and we much like the work outside of the self, the work inside of the self is also not re-navigated because of frustration. This is a lot of that conversation we've been having as to like working through the challenges that the retrograde cycles often bring to the surface, because that ability of doing so, right? Not looking down on the frustration, but rather looking up, allowing for that openness of possibility, allowing for that to be kind of that breakthrough energy. We see even now that a lot of that energy is feeling the energetic challenge point, but what are they doing in the meantime? They're rising to it, right? So for a lot of this, and this is having a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. Now, and I need to stress this because this is more of that conversation for the energy and separation right now that we're going to talk about. Because for a lot of that energy and separation, you will remember and recognize that facilitating forward in that work, this is the difference that we were seeing that was articulated upon the energy that moves towards one another with trepidation, right? Feeling that sense of energetic alignment, feeling that sense of purpose and intentionality. So we see even now a lot of those connections that may be forming at this time. There is trepidation here, but this is the trepidation of energy that is feeling the hopefulness of what they're trying to create with potentially new partnerships and counterpart energy that is clarifying any of the experiences in the past where someone may have been moving more from a state of hesitation, right? Hesitation being such of not feeling that desire to move into partnership, right? Hesitation in trying to keep something at a particular point, right? So we see even now that a lot of those conversations in separation are occurring in relationality to intention. And what's happening here, and this is why I see even now a bit of this retrograde, is allowing for that openness in conversation, particularly in relationality to the past. Because specifically, if this is the work that we see that is being built upon and facilitated upon that recognition point, I see even now a lot of that energy building new connections via articulating those experiences that wounded them because someone was taking something too energetically lightly, right? We often create we often create inadvertent wounds in one another, right? And so we see even now that some of that path work, some of the work that we see that is being navigated here is the observation of intentionality, right? It's heavy stuff, but working through and recognizing that at this time, this is what is fortifying some of those new partnerships that we said that are coming towards one another with a lot of authenticity. This is also why I see right now, if there's energy coming into divine union, if at this time there are those experiences, you have to recognize the energy that has been working on repairing partnership up until like all the way back as far as the eclipse cycle. If these are those moments or those modalities wherein at this time we see that as energy is moving deeper into union, there's a lot of that observation point of falling back out, because the recognition that when you move deeper into partnership, you have to be ready to disappoint others. This could be a lot of that energy articulating and amplifying that feeling of frustration of another's like sense of another's intentionality not being so much necessarily on partnership, but on the egoic self. So we see even now like a lot of that work that is effectively being facilitated upon. This is what I said, a lot of energy potentially falling into separation right now. It may feel more fundamental, right? While for the energy coming into divine union right now, a lot of this work that we're recognizing that is occurring for energy coming into divine union at this time, this is that recognition point of feeling the excitement of a lot of that being made or brought into the tangible space. Why do we see even now a lot of that energy navigating that with a point of excitement? Because for a lot of that energy facilitating forward in this way, that ability of identifying and working through, right? If this is energy that is moving forward with that deepening of commitment and someone's taking it personally, this is a lot of that energy that is looking at something and kind of shrugging, because this is the energy that works through or facilitates into that point of understanding that when we move deeper into partnership, how another may perceive it may require that articulation point. It may require that point of like having to navigate. And so I see even now there's a lot of that energy that is feeling the internal celebration, and they're looking for that externally outside of partnership. And that is effectively defining what feels like it is healthy and supportive versus what they're effectively leaving behind as they move deeper into commitment. This is why we see even now this may be feeling very bittersweet for energy that's doing that work, right? Because that recognition in how far one has come and how much you've changed, there's almost like a maturation process that is occurring for a lot of that energy moving into divine union. And it's not easy, but that's why the energy is navigating the circumstances outside the partnership itself with a level or degree of compassion. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union, a lot of this work that I see to a certain extent, it's giving me a lot of this feeling of what feels restorative versus what feels like it's unnecessary. And so I see even now like a lot of that work facilitating through what feels like it's extraneous. Like that, like there's so much I see even now, like, you know, I see that energy that is able to always come back into union because they articulate and amplify in recognition of what they can agree upon. So we see even now that this is how the energy deep within divine union is like supporting each other. It's not that the work is easy, but the work is sometimes easy when you just try to lighten the mood, right? Like there's a lot of energy that's like deeply focused right now and just working on lightening the mood for one another as they do so, because it's a little bit of that work in terms of recognizing and facilitating, one's own commitment and conviction towards one another in the process. Center card for today's spread, flying out of the deck. We've got here our Knight of Wands in its transverse. So this is what we were talking about with a lot of that feeling of working through or building bridges today. Like I see a lot of that work as it relates to building bridges. And a lot of that feeling of building bridges to a certain extent, you know, that is effectively articulating about the fact that when you're in deep connection, counterpart connection, you don't have to be in lockstep at every moment, right? It's not that you always have to be facilitating forward in the same exact way, doing the same things. These are energies that are feeling that weight, if you will, working on their particular, like I see even now, like working and facilitating forward on that. And in the process, building those energetic bridges to a certain degree. How are they doing that? They're supporting one another, right? They're looking towards one another, not from a space of need, but almost from that sense of giving forward. So we see even now that, like, navigating those challenges, working through those hurdles, it's not easy because it's built upon and it's based upon nuance. And so a lot of that nuance that we're recognizing at this time, I want to say, and has to do with just some of the feeling right now. It's hard to put one's finger on how to navigate energy in this way, right? Because a lot of this work that we see that is happening right now, it's dense, right? And it's not necessarily it's not that there's something that one can put one's finger upon, right? But a lot of that feeling, and this is why we see that working through and kind of facilitating and just lifting each other's spirits as you both kind of navigate that feeling of the density of the combination force of the Mercury retrograde with the Mars in its retrograde. This is how the energy is supportive to one another in that moment of slowdown or in that moment of energetic stagnancy. While for masculine and feminine, and it requires, I want to say, this is the energy that says, pathwork of purpose requires patience. For masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is what I meant about the articulation in the recognition of what feels like it's moving in the direction with you versus what is oppositional of the direction that it feels like you're moving towards, right? A lot of this work right now, it's heavy, it's difficult, because a lot of that we saw even now, that recognition of a deepening of an energetic connection, facilitating and working through in that fashion. This is the energy coming into divine union that's feeling the disparity between energy that is supportive of it, energy that is celebrating, right? That was that clarification point we saw, versus kind of operating in that state of energetic ambivalence. So a lot of that work, even now, this is why we see so much of that feels to be like it is bittersweet, because that ability of recognizing the difference between energetic joy versus ambivalence, this is what is clarifying, and what feels like the articulation of what feels like it is supportive versus what feels like it is not amplifying one's own ability to move forward with it. It's complicated here. And I feel like there's a lot of that modality right now in trying to navigate conversations of that nature, right? Because I want to say, I can see a lot of the energy saying it's hard to put my finger on it. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is why I see even now some of these new connections that are forming right now in separation. They're beautiful. It's not the most ideal of circumstances, but I keep hearing a lot of this feeling of happenstance, right? A lot of this work of happenstance that's coming right now. And this is a little bit of that gift of the retrograde, because what did we see was happening right now? When we sometimes move out of our own, sometimes when we move out of our own comfort zone, we find new things, right? And so for a lot of this energy right now, I keep seeing that some of the things that are happening right now, a lot of these these moments that create this blockage, it's instead of struggling on the blockage, just kind of keeping one open to the possibility. I see partnerships that are coming together in this way. A lot of this, I just kind of I was trying to go a different way, and there something was for me, right? A lot of that work today. And so again, I'd say to a certain extent, there's the easiest energy right now is the energy in separation, right? This energy right now in separation, it's just navigating the stagnation of the self. So continue forth in doing so right now. Because I just keep seeing that there's a lot of hesitancy here. But this is the hesitancy of something that is well-intentioned, as opposed to hesitant, like it's trepidation instead of hesitancy, right? It's someone being careful, not someone being resistant. Now, this is why I see even now for energy falling into separation, there may be something here that feels so fundamental, because if this is the energy that only at the time that they were bringing something into the tangible space is someone like pulling into that hesitation vector, we see even now like that observation of like the courage that we need to have as we navigate through. This is the energy that almost says, I can't create courage in another. Right? This is the energy that says, I need to work with what I like. This is the energy saying, like, feeling the frustration, because it's almost like the navigating of disappointment in what you're seeing in someone at that time. Fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread, we have here our Temperance card. Oh, we got 2 cards popping up here. Temperance card in its reversal, in combination with our Queen of Wands in its upright, in combination with our 9 of Swords in its upright. So a lot of this work that we're seeing today, it is having, I need to point this out, it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Now, for feminine energy right now, this is a lot of the feminine energy building into that point of confidence in relationality to being able to articulate their own feelings. I just see a lot of this feminine energy right now, you know, building into that space. And this was, and I told you, this was a little bit of that unpacking, if you will, that was occurring in relationality to what is within the self to change versus what is outside of the self to accept. So we see even now that for a lot of that feminine energy, what was a lot of that valuation point that we recognize? The ability to articulate how one is feeling. This is, I want to say, this is a lot of the work that the feminine energy is navigating right now as they work through some of the challenges of this retrogrades feeling. The feminine energy saying your feelings are valid. The way something makes you energetically feel is important. So we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy in separation, this is why we see that there may be something that is deeply restorational that is happening right now, particularly as it relates to building healthy energetic connections with masculine, that effectively don't take that articulation as personally, right? Because that ability, like this, do you want to see this? Like, I want you to see these 2 cards that came out together. This is the Queen of Wands in its upright in combination with our 4 of Swords in its reversal. This is the masculine on that healing journey that sees the feminine and says, I understand that if you move with hesitation to me, it's not because you are weak. It is because you are strong and you've had to navigate circumstances that require you to set those strong energetic boundaries, right? So there's a lot of that appreciation that we see that's occurring right now for masculine, seeing feminine moving in that fashion. While for feminine energy, again, seeing the masculine that doesn't take that personally, right? That recognizes and understands the difference in feminine between trepidation and hesitation. This is a lot of that feeling of support that we see that is occurring at this time, that is being amplified by the masculine that basically says, like, my desire to move towards you is not the priority. The comfortability is us finding what feels energetically comfortable. So we see even now these are the energies that are communicating upon that and forging those new connections. And some of it has to do with like I want to say, like it feels to me like a lot of this like happy coincidence kind of thing. And this is why I see even now, if there's energy that has recently fallen into separation, this is, if these are energies that we're going through some kind of repair path work, like feeling like that sense or space of like breaking an energetic cycle and healing something profoundly in the progress, and only in the time of bringing it into the tangible space, is that slowdown occurring now. I see this is just a lot of that energy that is moving back into separation, almost with a feeling of peace, like having recognized and worked through the understanding of that lesson, right? And that's what I hear. Like, I hear a lot of that energy in like coming into separation, saying like, I'm not going, like, I don't want to repeat my lessons, right? This is the energy saying, I recognize what feels like it is productive, what is moving in the direction of progress, versus what feels like it is energetically repetitive. A lot of that feeling of repetition that's coming through right now in this retrograde period. And that's not to say that repetition isn't positive, because you'll remember that something that is a positive repetition is something that feels like it is restorative. But I see even now that a lot of energy is breaking what feels to be unhealthy cycles in the process. So that is feeling like a lot of those conversations in relationality to what feels like it is restorative versus what feels like it is repetitive, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we are seeing right now, the energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that is recognizing, like, this is like standing on the same platform, right? Like, the beauty for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now is I can see the energy saying, like, on this we can agree, right? Like, that ability of recognizing and identifying. This is the energy that's actually feeling like, I see even now, there's a lot of energy right now coming into divine union that feel like they're on very firm footing. What happens when we're on firm footing? We can see things more clearly. So we see even now, like, a lot of that energy facilitating forward and seeing things clearly on that firm footing. This is what is amplifying what feels like it is supportive, what feels like it is fundamental, versus those spaces or places wherein there were places of like this, and this is what I meant. I see even now that is like the masculine feminine energy having those different perspectives on something. The only major difference I want to say is that for feminine, there's more intensity right now that is being energetically experienced. So there could be, and this is going to bring us into the energy deep within divine union. Feminine taking something more energetically seriously. Masculine being a little bit more casual about it. This could create some feeling of energetic conflict right now, even for energy deep within divine union, right? Because you can see here, I just want to show you, and this is where like a little bit of this is what is like, this is the bridge. Like, this is the bridge that is forming in the new energetic connections. This is the platform that's occurring right now for the energy coming into divine union. And this like Knight of Wands in its transverse is the the gap, if you will, for the energy deep within divine union as it relates to how like one's own perspectives, right? So what is beautiful about that? Then this is why I say this might be a little bit more energetically intense for energy deep within divine union right now, because the ability of understanding the perception of the counterpart today. It may not feel like you see things the exact same way, but what's the beauty when you see things in different ways and you bring that perception together? You get a clearer picture, right? Like, you're able to see something in a broader context. So we see even now, like, that's why I'm saying right now, don't get frustrated if you're in partnership and you have different perceptions on things. Allow it to enhance one's own view. Continuing to get clarification on our Two of Cups in combination with our Page of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Lovers card. We love to see this card today, and I need to stress this. This is kind of beautiful because we got here, look at this. It's not kind of beautiful, it's very beautiful. We've got here our Two of Cups and it's upright in combination with our Lovers card. So there's a lot of this energy right now that, like, you know, and I want to keep saying this, the beauty of counterpart connection is not that you always share the same perception on things. The beauty of counterpart connection is in the places that you have disparate perception. Even then, it feels like it gives you a broader view, right? Because that is the energy that feels that like adaptability point. And so, and this is the gift, like, do you see, this is the energetic gift that the counterparts are giving each other via V, advice, via V, insight, right? So we see even now like that open-minded perspective to a certain extent. This is what feels like it is like fortifying, even if something feels like it's frustrating, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, and I keep hearing like a lot of that energy, like the energy deep within divine union. I just hear them saying over and over and over again, on this we can agree. Like, on this we can agree. I just see a lot of these energies like bump, 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 and then going, on this we can agree. Bump, 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 on this we can agree. Right? So that's that healthy, like that's some of that healthy argumentation, because it creates further alignment, right? It creates further like fortification. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that is feeling the same exact circumstance or situation, which is on this we can agree, because a lot of that energy navigating that with the same clarity and perspective, seeing something in the same way. This isn't energy that it's experiencing turbulence, bringing something into the material space and is moving in an oppositional direction. This is the energy perceiving something in the same way. And even if they may be oppositional as to the reasons why, this is the energy that says on this we can agree. It's not going to change our direction. Right? Like it's like when you're experiencing turbulence, you don't turn the plane around. You know what I mean? Like this is why this is what the energy is kind of like working through. Like it's like that's why like navigating like what it is there's something there, but it doesn't feel like it is essential, right? While for masculine and feminine energy, in separation right now, I just see a lot of energy asking forgiveness to one another in moving slowly, right? But this is the energy that, again, it like almost the self-aware acknowledgement of it, the amplification as to why, giving each other the energetic reasons for. This isn't the energy that sees someone in that moment of trepidation and takes it personally, because this is the energy that recognizes the feeling of someone being energetically careful, right, on a pathwork of healing, as opposed to someone being avoidant, right? So like that is the gift, that the energy in separation is giving each other in the process of that, because this is the energy that finds each other in a space of healing and says, I understand trepidation because something is important is often an amplification of the love that we put forth, like the gift that we believe our love is, and how we hold it in a space of being sacred, right? So again, we've had a lot of like that sense of sacredness coming through, which is why if there's energy right now falling into separation, this is the energy that may articulate and say the audacity, because that space or place of recognizing what feels sacred right now, like that's a lot of that heaviness. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups and its upright in combination with our Knight of Wands in its transverse. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Wands in its upright. So a lot of this work that we're seeing right now in separation, this is what I mean about a lot of that energy building into a point of confidence as it relates to new connections. Because everything I just keep seeing that's occurring right now for the energy deep within, in separation, is this I want to say the energy in separation that doesn't take their path work lightly, right? Like they don't take it lightly. Right? It's like they take everything else lightly, but their path work they take very seriously. So what is the energy doing right now? Like in divine, like in separation, this is a lot of the energy in separation that gives each other the gift of those plans, being able to articulate forth in that way, being able to amplify and articulate what that is. This is the energy that feels supportive, because these are the energies that are already planning ahead with one another, right? Because the gift that they're giving each other is the conscientiousness in that way. So a lot of that work that we see even now, it feels restorational. It feels energetically supportive, because I just see like a lot of things right now coming together, which is why if there's energy right now that's falling into separation at this time, this is the energy that is feeling the frustration in having gotten something to the point that fixed it, and only at the moment of moving into that deepening of partnership that something like moves, like it pulls them away. This is a lot of the energy that affirms and amplifies that, that, like, I keep hearing the energy that's saying to one another as they're moving deeper into divine union, that when we're moving deeper into commitment, we have to be ready to disappoint others in the process, right? Like there's a little bit of that. It's hard. It's not easy. But this is the energy that says, like, that point of celebration, feeling that point of celebration right now in terms of how far they've come, and recognizing and identifying how others may feel about it. This is what is clarifying in relationality to the direction that they're going, and who they expect to feel will come with them on the way, right? Like there's a lot of that. Like I can see, like, there's the energy saying, like, be like, it's a kind of like, would be a lot cooler if you did kind of thing there, right? Because there's so much of this work that is like working through not doing something in a pathwork of another, taking it personally, but giving each other the grace and recognizing and understanding where we find ourselves. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're recognizing and facilitating at this time, it has to do with being patient, right? And I gotta stress this, these retrogrades, man, they can create that like nail biter energy, right? This type of energy, it can be really frustrating. Because it almost feels like it, especially with the combination of like the Mercury retrograde with the Mars retrograde, it's like it's a little quiet, a little too quiet. You know what I mean? Like it's like that, it's that type of energy. You know what I mean? It's like that stagnation feeling. And again, it's also being amplified by the fact that we had that Sagittarius new moon, which doesn't like the slowdown. Right? It feels icky. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like that. But what is the energy doing right now deep within divine union? They're not taking it internally. They're just recognizing what's outside of the self to navigate versus what is inside the self to change. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Wands in its transverse and our Temperance card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. It's giving. Here's the thing, okay? And it's interesting too, because it's like, what do you do when you feel like it's giving a little bit of like quicksand energy, which is like, what do you do when you experience a feeling of energetic quicksand? Do you thrash around? Like, no, like that's like, it doesn't make anything easier. Like that ability of moving with intentionality right now, right? Just allowing for that sense of heaviness. Right? Just saying it's not anything different. It just feels more energetically heavy. This is the energy that just recognizes it doesn't move you off of one sense of purpose. It it just, everything feels a little bit more difficult right now. Like the wheels need more grease, and so that sense of not letting oneself get frustrated at that time, just putting more grease to them, right? This is what we effectively see is allowing for so much of that, so much of that breakthrough to occur. And a lot of it, and I want to say even now, the gift of the energy deep within divine union is recognizing what feels like it is, what feels like it is helping in that way versus what feels like it's energetically hindering, right? Like a little bit of that perception right now is valuable and important, because that same adaptability, that same recognition, if you will, this is allowing for breakthroughs right now. Like it's allowing for breakthroughs, but it's requiring like a lot of that, like it's requiring a lot of communication in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this energy that we see coming into divine union at this time, this is more of that same effort that we are recognizing in relationality to what feels like it is supportive towards you at this time versus what feels like it is feeling more ambivalent. And I feel like even now, like working through, I just see it, like I keep on seeing that there's energy coming into divine union right now that is navigating energetic ambivalence. And that's hard, right? That's heavy. But the beauty of this is, again, when we're on pathwork of purpose, we don't allow another person's ambivalence to refine or define us. It's just something that we perceive. It doesn't change our own directionality, right? So we see even now that like a little bit of that work and facilitating through in that fashion, identifying and feeling that, but proceeding forward, it's hard. And it's heavy, but at the same time, I just see that a lot of that energy coming deeper into divine union is just holding each other's hands through it, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, this is why I see so many new partnerships that may be occurring at this time. I mean, I just want to show you guys some of these cards that we're seeing here. We've got here the Lover's card. We've got here the Four of Wands. We've got here our Two of Wands. So while again, I see even now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union and coming into divine union, it feels heavy. It almost feels like the energy like is holding space for the energy in separation to be able to like forge some of those new energetic connections. Like this is like with a lot of clarity. Like there's a lot of clarity that is coming through right now. And a lot of that and that's why for a lot of the energy in separation, the gift is not experiencing something in a point of ambivalence, right? Because like the energy coming into divine union and the energy deep within divine union is holding all of it. Right? It's like holding the space for it to a certain extent. And this is like clearing a lot of the path work for the energy in separation, because this is the energy that's embracing their cringe, right? They're not trying to be cool to come towards one another. Like they're trying, I almost see some energy being like coming towards each other, being like the opposite of cool, and feeling that liberation point, because that's the energy that feels that beauty of being their authentic self in the process, right? And this is, again, the energy in separation that articulates and says, if something about my cringe moves someone farther away from me, that is my energetic cringe protecting me. Like, that's what we mean by, like, I am cringe. This is Sagittarius season, like, coming through again, because we've been seeing this coming through ever since Sagittarius season started, which is a Sagittarian energy that embraces their awkwardness. Like, I am cringe, but I am free, right? because that cringe is what protects you from those that are not for you. Continuing to get clarification between our Temperance card and its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords in its reversal and our Queen of Wands in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we've got here our Five of Swords. So I want to say even now, because I keep reading this, I see two different modalities of energy in separation right now. I see energy that's in separation, that's been in some path work, like working on the self for the last 4 months, and like a lot of these new energetic connections that are coming through, right? Because a lot of this energy in separation is almost amplifying and articulating the fact that they're not, I keep on hearing the energy say, rest assured, I am not between things. I see energy articulating and saying to someone, I'm not in between places. You're not finding me waiting for something. I am where I am because I have arrived here, right? This is a lot of that same message that we saw that was coming through that says, I did not expect to be here, but I'm glad to have found myself here, which is the energy that is almost clarifying and saying to one another, I'm not waiting upon something. I am living presently within, right? And so for a lot of that energy, this is why I see that this is the energy that feels like they're ready, because this is more of that modality of we saw about holding the past with an open palm, right? What do we see with the energy that holds the past with the open palm? You hold on to it too tightly, what do you get? Bitterness. You let it go entirely, what do you get? You lose the energetic lessons. So we see even now that ability of holding the past with an open palm, this is the energy that says I'm in alignment, like I'm where I am because I recognize and identify that this is where I am intentionally, right? Like there's a lot of intentionality that's happening in some of these new connections that are forming. And this is why if there's energy coming immediately falling into separation at this time, during this type of energy, this is why I see some of those separations feel like they're fundamental, because this is the energy that says it requires what we require from one another is not just emotionality. It is navigating forward with a sense of bravery. And the problem with bravery is bravery often feels like you're just carrying a lot of fear, right? Like, let's be honest, like when we're navigating, like bravery is not when you do something and you feel complete confidence in doing it. Bravery is the thing you do even at the moment that you don't feel confident in it. It's facing the energetic fear. It's working through in that, right? It's the articulation of saying to oneself, I'm not going to let, I may feel energetic fear, but I'm not going to let myself be afraid. Right? Like that is what we articulate when we speak towards the true feeling of strength. Strength is not what you do when you feel strong. Strength is what you do when you feel vulnerable, right? Strength is what you do when you have those modalities of anxiety, that we all feel them. And that gift of love, operating in that sense of bravery, it can feel very challenging. And this is why I see a lot of this energy. This is the new energetic connections in separation that say, I see someone being brave for me, right? This is that bravery of someone feeling that and being brave as they do so, because what are they doing? This is the energy in separation saying, I'm not going to let the shadow of the past override my intentionality in the present. I'm not going to allow that shadow to dominate my existence as it relates to what I've experienced. I'm going to let that intentionality guide me and learning those energetic lessons. While for a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, this is why navigating anything here with a point of ambivalence, it may be feeling very fundamental at this time, right? Because if we're feeling the amplification of joy, if we're feeling the amplification of happiness, and another experiences our happiness from a point of ambivalence, that can feel painful, right? Why does that feel painful? Because it feels like the expression of someone that does not share another's joy, right? That does not share another's feeling of celebration. So we see even now that navigating forward in that way, I want to say, like, this is the energy. I can see like there's energy right now coming into divine union that is feeling somewhat hurt and confused, right? Because navigating that hurt and confusion, this isn't the energy feeling hurt and confusion within divine union. This is the, like with the counterpart, this is the energy that experiences the hurt and confusion when you're feeling that modality of joy, and it's sometimes received with that feeling of ambivalence, right? That's why we see even now a lot of that energy, like just recognizing and understanding that that is like, that's when we move towards a manifestation goal, and sometimes it doesn't feel the way we expect it to feel, right? Because that's a lot of that energy that's recognizing the difference between what one may have imagined something to be versus what it actually feels like to be within it. It's bittersweet sometimes, right? But this isn't the energy that changes their own intentionality in doing so. They're just being observant of it. While for a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, I want to say that with a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, like working through, like it's very similar to the energy coming into divine union. But a little bit more of this has to do with what may feel, I want to say like energetic argumentation between the perspective of masculine and feminine energy at this time. And this is just that reminder that, you know, we don't always have to see things the same way. That ability of saying to one another, on this we can agree, right? Like a lot of that space that we identify here, this is the energy that forms a bridge even when they feel that point of conflict via the ability of feeling the enhancement of their own perspective via the perception of the counterpart. Continuing to get clarification between our Lover's card in combination with our Four of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union right now. This like it has to do, a lot of it has to do with perception outside of partnership. A lot of it has to do with working through like what is occurring around, like outside, like so much of this right now. And a lot of this, you know, it feels like that pathwork of recognizing what feels like it's productive versus what feels like it's not. And even here, like working through some of those frustrations, you know, I'll put it this way, when you're in that space, it's not about what you're doing, it's about what it takes. So we see even here that like so much of that energy, like it's frustrating because it feels extraneous, right? It's frustrating because it feels extraneous. While for the energy coming into and navigating some of that like extraneousness, I see even now, this is what is allowing for some of these breakthroughs to occur. Because it's in that moment where we don't allow ourselves to feel frustrated, but we just get over our own egoic humps, if you will. Like this is the energy that says like, it doesn't matter how I feel about something. It's just the way that it is, right? This is the difference between the energy that feels something and lets it like overwhelm them versus being like this is more of that clarification in like understanding and recognizing something and just allowing that to like fortify your own ability of going forward. So this is more of that like, it's more of that like heavy retrograde energy, you know, like work, like just like navigating, like it's frustrating. Like it's really frustrating. But this is the energy that's not internalizing that frustration. While for masculine and feminine that is coming into divine union right now, this is more clarifying. This is the frustration that is clarifying, right? Because, and you see here, it's like the density right now is for the energy deep within divine union. Things are clearer right now for the energy in separation, because this is the energy experiencing the frustration, and in the process of experiencing the frustration, they have clarity on things, right? Especially if this is the energy trying to clarify the joy that they're moving towards. If another person does not feel that same sense of excitement, right? If another person doesn't feel and see it that way, this is the energy that doesn't change their direction. They go like, I can't really help that, right? But this is also why, if these are energies that are moving into separation at this time, those separations feel like they are fundamental, because these are the energies that feel that, with the observation of someone not having the same, like not having the same courage, if you will. And this is why even now, like some of these, like I can see there are some really, really strong new energetic connections that are occurring at this time, because these are the energetic connections that someone is amplifying, the like moving towards each other with trepidation. This is the energy that is like, articulating their own anxieties and fears in the process, but it's almost like in the moment of expressing their anxieties and fears, they're immediately released, because these are the energies that are articulating the similarity in terms of how they are feeling and experiencing it, right? There's no playing it cool here, is what I'm seeing for some of these energies, like coming into new connection. But that's the energy saying, I like that you're not trying to play it cool, because you care. Like, why would you be cool about something if you care, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Wands in combination with our Two of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Cups in its upright. So, for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine, in separation, and this is, I need to point this out, I want you to take, with all of this intensity that we're experiencing, I want you to observe the energy between, look at these energies in separation right now. This is what the bravery looks like. This is what the bravery looks like right now for masculine and feminine. The bravery looks different in them, doesn't it? Right? Well, for masculine, it's showing emotional courage, right? The ability to be vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable to feminine, right? Opening themselves up in that way. This is the amplification of the masculine saying, I'm being vulnerable, and it's the strongest thing I've ever had to do, right? While for feminine, that ability of feminine being energetically strong, recognizing their own standards, feeling the sense of articulating them, and building forth with the masculine that says, I see you in that modality. I'm not intimidated by it. I adore your own ability to be able to articulate who you are. This is the feminine that embraces themselves even with their flaws, right? Even with those parts of the self that they find harder to navigate. That's what we see with that little cat. The little cat here with the Queen of Wands. This is the feminine energy that doesn't say, I don't have a shadow. This is the feminine that says, I got my shadow in check. This is the feminine that works in that space of saying, I recognize my anxieties. They don't overrise me. So we see even now, this is the feminine navigating that point of bravery that doesn't require them to disassociate. It requires them to articulate. And if their little cringe sends someone away from them, that's the feminine that says, my cringe has just protected me, right? Thank you, cringe, right? So we see even now there's a lot of harmony that's happening in some of these new connections that are forming. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that is recognizing, navigating some of that ambivalence, navigating some of that surprising disappointment, right? Not feeling like that confetti burst as they're moving deeper into partnership. Are these the energies that are changing direction in the process? No, because these are not energies that are moving towards something with the expectation of what it'll create outside of them. This is the energy that it has their concentration in what it is that they're creating within, like between themselves. So we see even now that for a lot of that work, facilitating forward in this fashion, I keep hearing the energy coming into divine union saying, on this we can agree. And what they can agree is we are better energetically together. Like this is the energy that says, like this is not that space or place of looking at something and feeling the concern as it relates to how others receive it, right? It's more about that sense of internal integrity as it relates to what you feel and what you create together, right? And that's where you, like, again, you hold other people's opinions, right? Much like we talked about with the energy in the past. You hold it energetically lightly, which is, you don't hold it too tightly. You don't get bitter. You don't let it go. You don't forget about the lesson entirely. You hold it with an open palm, right? You observe it and you move forward. While for a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, this is more of that same feeling, if you will, in feeling and navigating those frustrations and not taking it out, like again, like the gift that I see even now, like this is the energy that builds forth in such a way that the confidence they create for one another is the gift of their love, right? So we see even now that for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, like a lot of that work is almost like this is the energy that says, like, every day what we give each other is the same. Sometimes some days are harder, some days are easier, but they don't evaluate the connection via the weight, right? This is the energy that focuses on creating that energetic support. And so for feminine, this is the feminine feeling that, working through and being energetically productive even when it's feeling frustrating. And for masculine, this is the masculine that is building that sense of being able to articulate upon their emotions even when it is challenging, right? And this is how they're building, they're strengthening their partnership, even when not just despite things being challenged, but fortifying it further when they are. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Wands in combination with our Five of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Swords. And so this Three of Swords energy, like this is a lot of that intensity that we've been talking about. This is a lot of overcoming those frustrations. This is the energy I want to say that, like, deep within divine union looks to one another and says, when things get hard, I love you even more, because this is the energy that builds into that sense of appreciation, right, for one another in that context. And it's not easy. You see what, like, even here, like, you see this, like, these are the energies that are navigating forward in those challenges. But this is a lot of that work that facilitates forward in that fashion via the amplification of what it means to them, right? And in the process of experiencing and sharing each other's hurts, they immediately heal them in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy navigating any of that ambivalence. If they are moving deeper into divine union, making peace with it, right? If you experience ambivalence, like on the point of the other, is this the energy like scrambling to try to prove to someone something outside of partnership? Is this energy like scrambling to like change direction? No, because this is more the energy saying, like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Or again, if these are sentiments of someone having like well-placed intentions, saying, I understand they're coming from a healthy place, right? So we see even now like a lot of that navigation and recognition This is not much like, this is why we see these energies are moving truly into the space of being able to bring things into the tangible, because this isn't the energy that's taking that journey personally and changing their direction for it. This is the energy just understanding that that is part and parcel to what one has to experience and navigate as you move towards something that is for you and an energetic counterpart. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation, this is what I see even now. Like this is beautiful, because some of these energies right now in separation, this is the amplification, if you will, in identifying a feeling. I just keep getting energy right now in separation, especially if there's been like a period of time being in separation. The energy almost saying, I'm ready now. Why are they saying that they're ready? They're saying that they're ready because this isn't the energy that says, it's not that I've done healing, right? This is the energy that says, I know how to carry it. I know how I carry that. I know where I put it. I know where it energetically belongs, right? So a lot of that work that we see to a certain extent right now, this is what feels so supportive, because these are the energies that are not coming towards each other for the hope of someone fixing them. This is the energy that is giving each other the gift of holding each other carefully, because they recognize that they're both in a space of healing, right? Now, continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our King of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Magician in its reversal. I have to stress this right now. There's there's very little illusion that is occurring right now for the energies in separation. And I'm going to say even now that feels very restorative. It feels very positive. It feels very healthy. Why do we see that at this time? Because this is the energy that is recognizing and identifying that desire to come towards each other. Not from the egoic self, not the part of the self that one and this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. For masculine, this is feeling, and even now, like this is the masculine that is feeling a lot of that space, like the gift of healthy partnership for masculine is not feeling like you need to wear a mask, not feeling like you need to be in that guise of being someone in order to facilitate an energetic connection. This is why for so much of the masculine energy that's healing at this time, this isn't the energy the masculine says, I'm not in the space of doing work on myself. Right? This is the energy that says to themselves to a certain extent, that path work, I move towards you from a place of authenticity so that we can come into alignment. And that sense or that space is the masculine being very open and authentic about their feelings, right? This is like the masculine almost offering this as a gift to the feminine coming into new partnerships. Right? While for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this ability of doing so, this is the feminine bringing that level or degree of confidence with them. Right? That's not easy for the feminine. A lot of that feminine working in that path work of trying to I want to say fit or accommodate the mood of previous experiences. This is more of that feminine energy saying, when I have to dim my light, when I have to move myself into what another desires, all I end up doing is falling off of my own path work. This is a lot of the energy of the feminine embracing their own authenticity and recognizing that when we experience our own authenticity, our authenticity is going to result in rejection. Authenticity feels a lot like rejection, right? Because that ability of recognizing that feeling of rejection, that is what healthy standards feel like. Healthy standards feel like being rejected a lot. Because that ability of working through that, not being accommodating to it, this is the energy of the feminine that says my intentionality is such that I'm not trying to disappoint others on that path work. But if being my authentic self disappoints others, maybe that is the articulation point that they're not in alignment to me, right? So there's a lot of that energy that we see even now. This is requiring a lot of confidence on the part of the feminine, and it's requiring a lot of vulnerability on the part of the masculine. But we see even now a lot of new healthy partnerships that are resulting as a result of the energy saying, I don't take that work lightly. Like, I don't, like, this is the energy saying, like, I take that work as the most, like, this is the energy saying, like, this is how they're healing one another. Like, this is how they're finding each other in that point of healing. While for a lot of this energy, same exact message that's occurring right now for the energy coming into divine union, but a lot of that energy coming into divine union at this time, that articulation of it, that recognition point, if you will, this is the amplification of the energy that looks at something outside of partnership and feels the similar, and may argue as to the reasons why, but feels the similarity in terms of it not shaking their own energetic purpose and moving deeper into partnership. And it's bittersweet. I can see a lot of energy moving deeper into a commitment right now and saying, I didn't expect it to be so bittersweet, right? Because this is the energy that feels the intensity of something that is real, right? Like it's matched with the gravitas. While for a masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union right now, this has to do a lot like working through, this is a lot of energy that is very, the perception of the counterpart, if you will, adjusting one's own perception of path work is what I'm seeing. And some of that isn't necessarily the most easy thing, right? Because I see even now for masculine, a lot of that journey is one in recognizing like the authenticity of one's emotions and the safety in being able to facilitate and express them. While for feminine energy right now, that ability of feeling that same sense of authenticity, I just see even now, there's like a lot, these are the energies deep within divine union that don't always agree on things, but they always agree on the thing, like on fundamental, like there's like, it's like argumentation, but like at the same time, like amplification, like that appreciation that we build when someone's saying, and again, it's more of that sense being like, wow, you're so wrong. Like, you're so wrong. But like when you say it to someone lovingly, you know what I mean? Like when you say something to someone, like not in a way that you're like taking it personally, you just look at someone, you go like, it's how can you be so wrong about things? But you say it with a smile on your face because that is the welcoming in of a perception that feels like it enhances one's own perspective, right? You know, it's like I can almost see the energy like deep within divine union being like almost playful in that aspect, like, right? Like you see this energy here, like almost being like, I am like, you know, and a little bit is also like almost, I want to say, taking a little bit of the past and being able to poke at it playfully, right? Because this is the energy that again, they hold each other sacred. And sometimes when we hold each other sacred, we can poke at something more because it is the recognition of saying, I don't prod at that because I take it lightly. I feel it within me, and poking at it is almost like poking fun at myself, right? Like when we have that path work so integrally, the reason we can poke at things that we consider that we would not allow others to poke at is because it's the feeling of saying, I can poke at that because I hold it sacred, right? Like when you hold something sacred, you can energetically poke at it. Right? Like, is that like that there's a little bit of that, there's like it's like that gentle kind of energy there, that easing, if you will. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Cups in combination with our Three of Swords and its upright. One card to clarify. Yeah, but nobody else can. There's a little bit of like, and this is why I see even now, like there's a little bit of that retrograde energy here, right? which is that sense or that space of the difference. And I feel even now, this is how some of the energy right now, deep within divine union, is healing, right? Because this, I got to point this out. This isn't the poking at things. Like, this isn't poking at something with a pitchfork, right? This isn't this isn't poking at something like the like Achilles heel kind of energy. This is that loving expression of being able to like poke at someone in such a way that because you feel that they are you, right? Like, because it feels like they are you. And so when, like, that's the energy that says, oh, like that becomes like they're saying, like, that's a sacred, like the sacred quality between the counterparts, is that modality of saying, I can access those points of you. Like, I can build into that because, you know, that is that because I adore like when you adore everything about, like when you adore everything about someone, then you can poke at any part of them, because this is the energy says, I poke at it because it's my favorite part, right? Like there's a lot of that beauty here. It's like they're saying, it's like, this is what I mean. It's like the poking that heals, you know, like it's the poking that heals, because that's the energy saying, can't you see how beautiful that is? Like I'm laughing at it with love because I adore it so, right? Well, for a lot of this energy right now that is coming into divine union, like a lot of that, and I see like a lot of that shame being freed in the process. While for a lot of that energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that is feeling that sense of protectiveness in relationality to what they hold dear as opposed to what others hold dear. And often when we move deeper into, like when we move deeper into union, that ability of recognizing and identifying what feels valuable, like it doesn't require all of us to hold the same things in accordance as it relates to what we hold energetically dear. But that ability of doing so, right, that recognition here, I see even now, like this is the energy moving deeper into divine union that holds each other in the process of navigating the grief of feeling something in that expression, right? Working through that. And it's difficult. Like I feel like there's a lot of grief that is being released right now for the energy moving deeper into divine union, because that observational point in recognizing and identifying, like this is what feels like, this is the energy that like is almost holding those wounds together as they move forward, right? Because, and while for a lot of this energy, and this is the energy that feels that sense of like, this is like the, and moving deeper into divine union in the process. While for a lot of this energy right now in separation, this is what I see about so many of these new connections that are forming right now from a place of authenticity and clarity. Because all of this work that I'm identifying here, this is the recognition point of, I just want to say, like there's so much authenticity that's happening right now in the new energetic connections that are forming. While I see even now, if there are connections right now that are that in that modality, right, feeling that sense of something moving deeper, if energy is falling into separation right now, it feels like a fundamental ending, because it's a feeling of someone that like working through that space or place of identifying like what, like building into divine union requires us to have courage in the process, you know? Final card for today's spread between our Magician in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Judgment card. Now, Oh, like a lot of this work that we see even now, right? You know, that ability of working through to a certain extent, we build into that context via the compassion, right? Energy that's working on pathwork of self. We're compassionate to ourselves so that we can be compassionate to others, right? We allow that compassion to pervade. And it is having the difficulty here is there's a difference in perspective between masculine and feminine right now as it relates to compassion. For a lot of the, I want to say for a lot of the feminine energy right now, like working through that space of compassion, in the space that you allow yourself to be authentic to those that you meet, you're giving yourself compassion, right? You say to yourself, I love myself. I love myself even in my flaws. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect, but it also means I don't have to be. None of us have to be perfect, right? We just have to be trying. We have to move towards perfection and realize that it's never attainable, right? And in the moment that we forgive ourselves for that, we are then immediately able to forgive others, right? Well, for a lot of this energy, and so I see even now, like for masculine, this is the same as it relates to feeling that anxiety of being judged by being one's own vulnerable emotional self, right? So we see even now, these are the energies that are mindful of judgment, but they're not allowing the fear of judgment to move them further away from the ability to see one another as they're coming into these new connections, right? These are the energies that have made peace with themselves, which is allowing the authenticity to kind of bring forth. And this is the energy that sees that trepidation and says, I'm recognizing the energy that moves with trepidation because they utilize that sense of judgment, sound judgment, right? And so even now, this is feeling very healing and restorative for some of those connections that are coming through, because this is the energy that's like taking that leap of faith, but not feeling like it's a leap of faith. It feels like the energy that says, regardless of the outcome, this is a directionality that I would head towards, right? Because this is the energy doing so for the within, not for without. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union. For a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, facilitating forward on that work, recognizing and identifying. This is why, if these are modalities wherein this is the energy that feels this happiness, as it were, as it relates to how far they've come, and they're bringing something forward and it's being matched or met with ambivalence, you know, this is the energy that feels some of that bittersweetness, like that turbulence coming into divine union, but it doesn't change their direction, because it's more of that same lesson that says that when we move deeper into partnership, we have to be ready to navigate like the feeling of being energetically judged by those outside of it, right? The benefit here is for some of the energy right now experiencing that sense of someone. It's like I keep hearing the definition of someone saying, I want what's best for you versus I know what's best for you, right? And so again, what is the energy that says I want what's best for you having? They have an open mind. They leave something open as it relates to that sense or that space of perception, right? So we see even now that for some of that energy facilitating forward in that way, that recognition of the difference between someone that's careful because they care about you versus someone that is ambivalent because they would prefer that you did not move forward into something, that's giving all the clarity that one needs. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, and that's the energy that's bittersweet and holds each other in the midst of experiencing it because they're experiencing it together. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is more of that same equivalent that we're seeing to a certain degree in relationality to, I want to say, like operating in that space of appreciating and celebrating one another that allows for that nuance of being able to show the side of the self that you don't typically show others, because these are the energies that even in the articulation of that, this is the energy that says, I adore you not because you are perfect, but I adore you because of your flaws, because I don't see them as flaws, right? This is the energy that looks towards one another and says, I understand that all of that is the comprehensive of you as a whole, and embracing each other in that space is how the energy feels like their own perception is clarified. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, particularly and especially with this Four of Cups in its reversal. One of the things that's difficult about these, one of the things that's difficult about this particular retrograde, I'm going to tell you even now, it's like a lot more of that same feeling of like the piano with the anvil on top of it. There's like a lot of energetic intensity that is occurring within it. But allowing oneself to feel like, don't be reactive right now if you're feeling frustrated. Let it sharpen one's own intention, right? Because when we're navigating frustration, that ability of working through something, it can feel like it creates that space of innovation. It can feel like it creates that space of achievement. But it almost, it's like, again, I want you to remember, like one of the major things to remember right now is if you're going through those moments and something's not working, continue to try. Because up until that point, that's the space of saying, if you stop in the middle of that, then you've failed. But if not, that's the story of how many times it took for something to work, right? Like, it's like, that's what we talk about with that path work of purpose, right? It's articulating upon one's intentionality. So don't get frustrated right now. Get focused. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never call you. I will never message you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very, very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the chariot. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. If you would like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each month. It'll also give you access to the full library of Tarot Church classes. That is over 8 hours worth of material for you to review when you're ready to receive it. It's not necessary to catch up on all of it. I will be giving a recap in each and every class, but it is there for you when you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage to go forward towards your particular tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you so much if you're just joining us there for the first time, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, please make sure that you head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel, because there you will find a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount to that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to our giveaway winners. Speaking of giveaways, we are going to be announcing the winner of our November giveaway today. So make sure that you're following me there if you'd like to be notified as to who has won. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard mentorship classes, I also offer, on top of my standard life path classes, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. These classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.